Welcome to the Kindergarten Toolbox Podcast. I'm your host, Amy Murray, here to help you simplify kindergarten with tools and strategies that actually work with real live 5 and 6-year-olds. Let's dive into your shortcut to calmer days and more confident writers. One of the biggest complaints I see from kindergarten teachers all across Facebook groups is the constant tattling. And how do you combat tattling? How do you end it? How do you make it stop? Well, there's all kinds of well-meaning ideas out there, including like a tattle turtle or a tattle phone, where kids go and tell a phone that has no one on the other end what their tattle is, or they write it down, even though they can't write yet in kindergarten. That's a whole nother thing. Or they tell this little stuffed animal the tattle, and then we move on with our day. And while those things might work sometimes, they don't promote trust. And trust is what is at the key of building solid classroom management. They tell you it's relationship building, and yeah, that is part of it. But relationships are built on trust. Without trust, you've got nothing. And so if a kid goes and makes a tattle to this phone, and hoping someone hears it or reads it or understands, and it's never addressed, and that thing that the kid is tattling about keeps happening, even though it seems like a nuisance to you and ridiculous or trivial to you, maybe Sally sitting next to him is driving him crazy with constant pencil tapping all day long. And that is going to bother you if he tells you in the middle of a lesson, but you still need to hear it, because if Sally doesn't stop tapping her pencil, he is still going to be annoyed. And then he doesn't trust that you're going to help him fix his problem. We have to pause and remember that these are 5 and 6-year-old kids. We want them to be problem solvers, but they are 5 and 6, and so they are problem solvers within their limits. We need to model this for them. We need to explain the difference between tattling and reporting. And if you really have something that you need to share with the teacher because it is bothering you and disrupting your learning, then when is a good time to do that? Because you do need to be available for your students. Having a tattle phone or a tattle turtle or whatever you want to deal with this, instead of you, the grown-up, is just not showing them that you care. It's showing them you don't have time for them and their thoughts aren't important. Now, I say all of that, and I understand how annoying the constant tattling can be. He looked at me the wrong way. He poked me. He said this. He opened his eyes. He breathed. Like, I know. I know. I've been there. And with my own kids too, right? It drives you absolutely crazy. So what you have to do in order to properly address this without losing trust is pause, have some mini lessons on what is tattling, what is reporting, what problems can you solve yourself, right? Is this a big problem or a small problem? Can I fix it without a grown-up? Do I need a grown-up? And when is it okay to tell a grown-up, even though it may seem like a small deal? Because small deals can compound over time, and your anxious kiddos, when you tell them there's no more tattling, they're going to stop telling you anything because they don't want to upset you. And that isn't what you want. You want the constant tattler who's complaining about someone breathing to stop complaining. So you want the complaints to stop, but not the actual reporting to stop. So you have to find a happy balance. What I found worked best, I had one year that I had constant tattling, and it drove me absolutely wild. I started doing class shout-outs instead of tattles. So we tried to flip the script, whereas instead of complaining and whining about what kids were doing wrong, kids were looking for what other students were doing right. And then we just put a little note on our shout-out board with the kid's name on it. And at the beginning of the year, that's all it was. It was a Post-it, and they wrote a friend's name and put the Post-it on. And then at the end of the day, at closing circle, we talked about who earned a shout out that day. Took about 2 minutes to shout those kids out. Everybody gave a round of applause and we moved on. that really did work for that crew who was so needy of that attention. If I could flip the attention so it was more positive, it was a lot more bearable for all of us. And it really did cut down on the tattling for the most part. The other thing that I did over the years, and you will hear me talk about these powerful little notes over and over again because they truly are this powerful, is we started using glow and grow notes. Our glow notes were, both notes were just half sheets of paper with little check marks. You can grab them in the show notes. It changed everything in my classroom. The glow notes were the most powerful classroom management tool I ever used. And it was just as simple as catching kids being good, looking around for what somebody was doing right so I could jot their name down on a piece of paper, check a couple boxes, and send it home with them. I started seeing these pop up on Facebook posts with proud parents. I started seeing kids asking each other, oh, do you think Johnny's going to get a glow note today? Because he did really well at XYZ. They weren't looking for each other misbehaving. They were trying to catch each other being good. As much as I could flip that script from focusing on the negatives to having everyone, including the students, focus on the positives, it changed everything. And then I could use the grow notes to address the tattlers who won't stop tattling. And really, it's not tattling, it's the minding their own business that's the problem. We need kids to understand what's their business, what's not their business, what they can control, what they can't control. And that is really the root of the problem with tattling. Let me know on social media what has worked for you to curb the tattling. What kinds of tips and tricks do you have to share with kindergarten teachers? I can't wait to hear them. Anything we chatted about today, you can grab in links for in the show notes. And good luck stopping the tattling.
Thanks for listening to the Kindergarten Toolbox. I'm Amy Murray, and I'm so glad you're here. Be sure to check the show notes for all the links and resources from today's episode. For even more tips, tools, and support, head to teachingexceptionalkinders.com or connect with me on Instagram at teachingexceptionalkinders. If you enjoyed this episode, please follow along and subscribe to the show and take a minute to leave a review. It helps other kindergarten teachers to find us too. Teaching kindergarten is tough, but you're not alone. Here's to calmer days and more confident writers. You've got this.